your breath, my bellows, my heart, your hearth. Today, we begin rebuilding with fragments. Today, we carry a new Ember. Well, welcome to Embers, a Whisper and Flame podcast. My name is Michael, and I am the voice of Whisper and Flame, the voice that will guide you and journey with you these next 30 days. When your flame has burned down to embers, and all you can do is but whisper, you are welcome here. If you haven't yet, pick up a copy of Embers, 30 Days for Holding What Remains. It's a guided devotional journal that lets you encounter art and poetry and scripture and gives you a place to write your story for yourself. Visit our website, whisperandflame.store, or our Etsy shop, or Amazon. I'm a former staff pastor at an inner-city homeless shelter. I was a hospice chaplain working with patients facing the ends of their lives. I planted a church that welcomed deconstructing Christians before deconstruction was even a term. I've seen so many people left in pieces, in fragments of who they once were. People broken from illnesses and addictions, from betrayals and traumas and neuroses. People who just can't catch a break, except that which broke them into pieces. This ember makes me think of one girl I met at the shelter, Misty. She reaches out to me on social media once every year to tell me that she got sober again and to ask me for money. Just happened recently, actually. I really like her. I'm still friends with her. She had a really difficult relationship with her parents, who were raising her two oldest boys. She lost custody of them before she came to the shelter. Her mother would no longer speak to her, and she kept Misty's boys at arm's length from their mother. And this decision broke her to pieces. It was all she would talk about. When I knew her, she had just had a third boy. Neither of her parents had met him, so it was just the two of them, all alone in our shelter. I remember conversation after conversation. All she wanted to do was get back to her family. She was with us for about a year, and actually graduated from the program where eventually both her parents were there for the ceremony, holding her youngest and celebrating her. I wish that was the end of her story, and I could say to you that it was their love that helped her rebuild the fragments of her story. But as I said, she still struggles to maintain sobriety, to make good decisions, to stay on track. Still hits me up for cash. She tried to rebuild her fragments over and over again in every way she could think of. She got married to another graduate of the shelter's program, but it didn't work out. She's still trying, getting sober, again and again, trying to rebuild her fragments over and over again. But all she's really doing is sweeping up the broken pieces and trying to stack them into a pile that would hold together, but can't. Because that's not how broken pieces work, is it? There is a Japanese art called kintsugi. It's the art of taking broken pottery and mending the fragments by welding them back together with superheated liquid gold, and forming them again back into something even more beautiful than the vessel originally made. The idea is to recognize the breaking as a part of the pottery's history, an integral part of its story, to, without shame, show off the lines of breakage by highlighting them with gold. We've all been fragmented in some way, haven't we? We've each experienced a shattering. I know I have. And Misty has as well. She was a vase broken by her decisions, her addictions, by chasing the wrong men and by the loneliness of her loved ones holding her at arm's length. And the more she was broken into fragments, the less able she was to contain the sobriety, the stability, and the love that she was made to hold. The concept of humans as pottery is an idea that comes to us from the Bible. Humans as containers of something more. In fact, it comes to us on the very first page of the Bible. The 7 days of the Genesis creation story are connected in surprising ways. It may sound a little shocking for me to say. The idea of the 7 days of creation is not to lay out a literal historical timeline for how the world was made. The timeline idea misses the point. The creation story is a poetic reflection answering the question, who, not how. Who are we? Who made all of this? Who made you and me? We start to see this idea developing when we notice how the days of creation relate to one another. On the first 3 days, God makes empty spaces. And on the second 3 days, 4, 5, and 6, God fills up the empty spaces. Day 1 is an empty space, and it's filled on day 4. Same with day 2 and 5 and 3 and 6. They all correspond to one another. God makes the land on the 3rd day. At first, there's only plant life on the land, nothing else, and it remains that way until day 6, where God fills up the land with land animals. God makes a container, and then God fills the container. And day 6 is important because that's the day that we get made too. And at first it seems like we break the pattern. Our container was already made, our space is already filled up, so it feels like we are this odd addition right at the end, an addition that falls outside of the pattern. But no, the pattern continues perfectly. God makes new containers on day 6. He makes us. We are the containers. And what do we hold? the presence of God. We hold the presence of God in the world. Because what happens next in the pattern? God rests on the seventh day. Not because he's tired. God doesn't get tired. He rests like a king on a throne. He takes up his rule of the world he made through you and me, containers of the presence of God. Who is he? The king on his throne. Who are we? His image bearers, dirt and divine breath. The creation narrative is a poetic way to understand that question, who? To understand the life he desires all of us to occupy. That we reflect our Creator. We give out his creativity, his generosity, his love to all creation. Image-bearing dirt and divine breath. Containers of the presence of God. And when our containers get shattered in this life, we're tempted to do what Misty has been trying to do year after year. She strives and struggles. She white knuckles, gets sober over and over, but none of it seems to stick for very long. She cannot fuse her fragments back together all on her own. All any of us can do when we're all alone is sweep our fragments into a pretty pile, each piece precariously resting on the others, only to tumble over again. When we break into fragments, what remakes us is not our own effort. What remakes us is when we yield our pieces over to the care of God Himself. We yield our fragments over to one who was broken just like us, broken for us, and who we can trust to rebuild us with our fragments again. It is the power higher than we are, the compassion of God, welding our pieces back with His gold dust mercy. There is no one who escapes this life unbroken, no one who escapes it without a scratch. We all take chips and scratches. Some of us get completely shattered. Some of us are even pulverized. Hearts and minds and bodies touched by real cruelty. I think God is so good and so powerful that even in the shattering, the pulverized dust that your story became, nothing can stop Him from working to weld even that microscopic dust back together. Nothing can stop Him. Except a heart that does not want Him. He will honor the heart that wants Him and the heart that doesn't. What do you picture when you see the healed version of yourself? I see someone who owns her story. Someone who has allowed God to do the work of welding her pieces, rebuilding her fragments with gold. Even if her fragments are more like dust, I see God welding even those back together and making her look nearly completely golden. If your heart chooses to yield its pieces to the care of your higher power, to God's gold dust mercy, if you did that one day, you would look golden. You would have that hero's story we talked about all the way back at Ember 1, Ashes Speak. That though you were broken, you endured. You healed. But for now, we're all still in the middle of that process of becoming. We're still, if we allow Him to help, being stitched back together. You are, Misty is, I am. May we give up our attempts to sweep ourselves into pretty piles. May we yield our fragments over to the gold dust mercy of God. May we honor the process of being rebuilt into containers of His love for this world, right now, still becoming. Breathe with me our breath prayer today. Inhale. Gold dust mercy. And exhale. And still becoming. And again. Inhale. Gold dust mercy. And exhale. And still becoming. I want to know your story. Where do you feel your fragments are being rebuilt? If you'd like to share your story with us, or even join us on this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us on the Whisper and Flame Facebook pages, Instagram pages, or send us an email at whisperinflame, that's whisper, the letter N, flame, @gmail.com. We look forward to connecting with you. Thank you for joining me today for Ember 20, Rebuilding with Fragments. Pick up a copy of Ember's 30 Days for Holding What Remains from our website. Allow me to bless you as we depart for now. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift His countenance upon you and bring you peace. Before you go, remember, even the grave is not godless, but a child's lost and found. You, yes, you are beloved, every scar, holy ground.